The moment people have been waiting for. We're going to get into the Failure Museum here. So, first off, what was the genesis of starting this?
Well, 2.5 years ago, I went to a Warriors game and I got an FTX sponsored bobblehead the same week that FTX filed for bankruptcy. And I had a sports memorabilia collection growing up, and I realized that this is a collector's item. That's pretty cool. And I went back home and realized I had other sports related items that I got at a game sponsored by failed companies. And I started blogging about this on LinkedIn. I got over 100,000 views in my first blog about it. And the Warriors gave me another bobblehead sponsored by FTX. They thought it was pretty cool. And it just created a real discussion around failure. And I think a lot of people are scared to talk about failure. And so I just started buying some items on eBay. I've gotten a lot of donations. And before you know it, I have 1,200 items in my museum 2.5 years later. And, anywhere from failed companies to failed products, failed sports teams, and failed toys.
FTX. So that was the first item, huh?
FTX was the first item.
My brother has an SVB backpack from his internship, which I always thought was kind of funny. If you'll humor me, I want to call out a couple of my favorites because I went way down the rabbit hole, Sean. A few too many hours going through your website for the Failure Museum. So first one, the ESPN phone. So this is a relic of my childhood. What happened there?
This is a really fun one for me, which is why I have three of them. Well, ESPN came out with this mobile phone where you could call, you had scores, and got ESPN content. It didn't sell very well during that first year. It hit less than 10% of its sales target. And then the iPhone came out a year later and completely killed it.
I forgot the iPhone hadn't came out yet. Cause like in a bubble, sports fanatic, you're like, that's incredible. Like all I'd want out of a phone is the ability to call, text, and check scores.
Yeah, but they couldn't get enough people to buy it.
Next one here, more of a dangerous one, lawn darts. I guess that was marketed as a fun game for the family.
It was a fun game for the family, but pretty dangerous. These are lawn darts with metal tips, and it caused so many injuries that it was outlawed to be sold.
So it actually did sell. It just ran into some legal battles.
Exactly. The legal battles shut it down.
I think I can see this one behind you. New Coke.
Yeah, New Coke, that was launched in 1985 because they were losing ground to Pepsi. But people had such an emotional attachment to the original taste of Coke that didn't take off, and they switched back to the original Coke.
So Coke actually admitted the defeat there and said, let's pack it in.
Yeah, I mean, that's an example of product market fit too. They thought that people love the new taste and it would work, and they scaled go to market there and then realized quickly that they were completely wrong.
All right. For any of the listeners that have a date night coming up, Burger King cologne.
Yeah, this one's shocking. I mean, they came out with cologne that smelled like flame broiled meat, and obviously that didn't take off. Incredibly, Harley Davidson also came out with a cologne.
Oh.
Cologne is a high margin product, and some of these players have decided, hey, why don't we come out with a cologne? But it rarely works. It's not their core competency.
More of a recent one, CNN Plus.
Yeah, CNN Plus was their foray into online streaming, and it failed miserably, and they only had it out there for 3 weeks.
There's only 3 weeks, really?
3 weeks. Crazy.
Sean, I think I see it behind you if I'm getting it right. Is that a Four Loko can?
Yes.
Is Four Loko still around? I'm guessing not, but I remember it quite vividly in college.
Yeah. Four Loko is not around, but that's a fun one. It's kind of crazy that was around back then.
Is there one that's special to you that I didn't ask about that you'd want to riff on for a sec here?
Well, if I turn around and here's a very recent one. I'll show you. This is one I just got last week. It's a Dyson air-purifying headphone.
What? What is? So it purifies the air while you listen to music?
Yeah. And this actually was invented before the pandemic. So this is not about the pandemic. But the problem with this is the fan was too loud. people were embarrassed to wear this in public, and it was too heavy.
Oh,
Kind of crazy idea, huh?
yeah, that is a crazy idea. That's almost as bad as Burger King Cologne. Well, to tie it all together, how has the Failure Museum helped you think about launches that don't work, failure in general for all the portfolio companies that you work with?
Well, it really has helped me coach my entrepreneurs better and, engage with potential investments better. I'd say, some of the most successful companies have had to pivot. I've told people that it's okay to take risks and, don't fear failure. A lot of the most successful entrepreneurs have had failed startups before. And especially in Silicon Valley, I think people realize that it's okay to fail. I'm not seeing as much openness to failing outside of Silicon Valley, but I'm trying to train people outside of Silicon Valley to feel comfortable failing. And, I've realized that you can learn as much from failure as success, but people tend to talk more about success. So I'm trying to create an open dialogue here around failure. And as we discussed before, you don't want to scale go to market before you've hit product market fit.
Run the Numbers is a mostly LLC production. Yelling an intro by Fat Joe. Artwork by some AI thingamajig. Podcast and video editing is done by Cleancast at cleancast.io. Nothing said on this podcast is intended to be business or investment advice. It's the sole opinion of me, a guy who feeds his dog too much ice cream and has a history of net operating losses, LOL. If you like this podcast, please hit subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. And also check out mostlymetrics.com. That's my newsletter where I explore business models and financial metrics. Thanks for riding with me. Share this with your friends. Peace.